Welcome to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, mum, FIFO wife, MBA, coffee lover, survivor superfan, and creator of the email experience. In Easy Email Marketing, you'll benefit from my nearly 20 years experience, where I'll be teaching you all the tips, tricks, and insider info on how to create feel-good, non-spammy experiences for your subscribers. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to the Easy Email Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Yael Keown, and today we are kicking off a brand new series all about fixing your email engagement, and specifically focusing in on the 4 engagement steps. First, we have deliverability. So this is whether your emails are received and seen. Next are opens, then clicks, and finally your sales conversions. So your subscriber needs to go through all 4 of these in order because each one builds on the previous. So they can't open an email if they don't see the email, and they can't click on the email if they don't open it, etc. So I'm going to explore many of the drivers and factors that can impact each of these engagement steps and provide some practical tips and different things you need to be thinking about to improve all of them. But here's what you won't find: copywriting advice. People assume that email marketing is about the words because, it's full of words. So things like better subject lines, better copy, better hooks. And yes, the words matter. I'm not saying they don't, but they are about 20% of what is going on. People seem to think it's the whole picture though, and that's where they focus. And I'm here to bust that myth completely wide open. So think of this like an iceberg. The words are the bit above the surface, but underneath there's your design, your deliverability, your content strategy, your automations, your segmentation, your sales psychology, and more. That's the 80% driving your results. And it's why that swipe file you downloaded didn't work, and why that email you asked ChatGPT to write got crickets. The problem was not the words, it was everything else happening beneath the surface. So I teach all of this inside my Engaging Emails program, which focuses in on the 7 drivers of email engagement. And over these coming episodes, I'm sharing how each of these drivers impact each of these engagement steps. And of course, it all begins right here with whether your emails get delivered or not. So that's where we will begin. Have you experienced this scenario? You spend an hour writing that perfect email. You hit send. Your software even says it is delivered, but you're unsure if your subscribers even got that email. You might even get some replies when you send out a lead magnet. Someone says, I never got that. Or a client might tell you, it ended up in my promotions folder, or it ended up in spam. For a surprising number of business owners, we just simply actually don't know that our emails are not getting delivered unless we have one of those amazing clients or customers that come back to us and tell us. And that's sometimes the first indication that something's going on. But there might be some earlier signs. Maybe you just see low open rates, but you might assume it's because your audience isn't interested, or you just aren't writing things that people are loving, or that the subject line isn't on point. It could actually be your deliverability. Now, before I get stuck into this in more detail, I always need to preface episodes about deliverability with a bit of a definition. So deliverability refers to whether an email goes to their inbox or not. And when I say inbox, I mean any of the tabs. So inbox or primary, updates, promotions, that counts as delivered. It is not delivered if A, it doesn't get anywhere at all, or B, it ends up in the spam folder. So that's what we're talking about here when we talk about deliverability. It is basically, did the email get there or not? It's highly associated with bounce rates as well. So sometimes you might see your bounce rates are higher, like with a hard bounce, for example, where that's because an email address doesn't exist anymore. So of course it hasn't been delivered. Okay, with that out of the way, how do you know you actually have a deliverability problem? And that's the tricky part, unless you have someone tell you that your emails went to spam. Because often these problems don't come with a warning siren. They are quiet. You're not going to get an email from Gmail saying, hey, we're putting you in spam. And your email software is still going to say they've delivered it because they've done their part of the process. They've sent it to the Gmail servers. And then it's up to Gmail to go whether or not they're going to open it. And you could just naively keep writing emails, hitting send, completely unaware that a big chunk of your audience isn't seeing them. So the main indicator here is your open rates. Now, open rates have had a bit of a bad rap recently with things like Apple mail privacy protection overinflating open rates. But they are still a reliable metric as a reflection of what deliverability numbers you are getting. And of course, they are also helpful in terms of comparing your current results to past results and seeing some trends over time. So they are helpful when it comes to measuring your deliverability. But this could also be a subtle one. Yes, there are times when you might see a big drop all of a sudden, seemingly overnight. This is obviously a big red flag that something has happened. And typically this could be something like a big influx of spam complaints, or you have gone and done something out of the ordinary, like you've changed domain names and without updating something. I've had clients who have moved websites or changed hosts or put their domain onto like Cloudflare or something. And that means they need new DNS records added, but they didn't realize. And then so the next email they sent, it hadn't been authenticated and it went straight away. So that was a big drop. I've also had things where clients have had like a mass influx of people, like of bots signing up to website forms, and because of that there was a lot of emails sent out, and some of them and they were actually loading people's real email addresses in them, but obviously not actual people, and they were complaining with spam complaints. So if you see a big drop, typically that means like something big has happened, or it could be like that you have just changed email software providers, or you've emailed for the first time after a while. But typically it can more often be a subtle one. So this is where your open rates have been declining over time. So not a big crash. So this is where you do need to zoom out and look at your numbers regularly. I kind of like to think about this like when the kids are a little bit too quiet. You're like, something is going on. That's when we want to investigate. So keep an eye on your numbers and your trends over time. And obviously if something big happens, you want to hone in. But then, of course, you need to do some checks. So make it a regular habit, maybe at least once a year, but probably every quarter. It's a good regular practice to get into to do some deliverability tests and checks. And there are a few tools you can use, a few places you can look. Firstly, your email marketing software should be able to tell you if you're going to spam or not for most inbox providers. So if you have a deliverability report section, head there. The exception to this is Google. So Gmail have their own spam filtering reports, and they don't push that data back to your software. So you actually need to set up Google Postmaster Tools. It's a free account. You just go there and that will tell you if you are going to spam or not, or if you have had a lot of complaints at certain times. Apart from that, there are a couple of tests you can run. The first one, that's a free site that I use, is mailtester.com. So mail with a little dash, tester.com. I'll put the link in the show notes. This will tell you if you have an authentication issue. So if you don't have some of those DNS records like your SPF, your DKIM, your DMARC, all of that set up, if you're on any blacklists, or if there's something wrong with the email itself. And another one which is handy is mailreach.co. So this provides inbox placement tests. So it will tell you by different inbox providers, so Outlook, Yahoo, Gmail, whether you are going to spam or whether you're going to inbox. And it will also tell you perhaps if you're going to promotions as well. Now, a note on promotions, remember this is actually still counted as delivered, and that's actually more to do with other practices you've got going on. So if you run those tests and you notice any of those concerns, then you definitely will need to do some work on your deliverability, which the good news is it is fixable. Some things are just simple, quick fixes like those authentication records, or some things do require greater warm-up and greater strategic thinking about how you get out of spam. So that is one whole dedicated driver inside Engaging Emails. I have one in there all about deliverability and those technical factors and how to ensure we stay out of spam. But if you do end up in there, what to do. But these technical factors and your email list warm-up strategies are not the only thing that impact on whether your emails are seen. The other 6 email engagement drivers also have an impact on this as well. Firstly, email design. And while there are a lot of email design elements that can impact deliverability, the biggest one is the use of images. And while images are totally okay to use and they don't have as big an impact, they're not frowned upon as much as they used to be when it came to deliverability, they can still have an impact. Firstly, lots of images could mean you were sent to spam because they just think it's, spam. Or if you're all one image, I know people love to go and create all the whole newsletter in Canva and just copy and paste it as one image. No, it's not a good signal because people, they can't read that it's there properly. Or at a minimum, if it goes to there, it might end up in promotions, which technically, if it's a promotions email, then maybe it's accurate at going there. Also, large images in terms of, and I'm talking about file size, may also mean that your email may take too long to load and your subscriber just gives up. Or your inbox provider just goes, whoa, this email is too big, spam. Also, no alternative text not only means that those who use screen readers can't read the email, therefore they literally can't see it. But now with AI filtering with our inboxes, it means AI can't recognize the context of that image and place your email accurately. So if you use images that are not just something extra little decorative feature, please use alternative text so that both those who with accessibility issues and the AI filters can read your emails. And that's just the images. So link counts, mobile responsiveness or device responsiveness, the length of your emails, and more, all can influence whether emails are delivered or not. Next, there is content. And one factor here is your send frequency. So regular sending maintains your sender reputation. I've not spoken on sender reputation in this episode yet, so a quick definition. Sender reputation is basically how well Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, Apple Mail think you are behaving. So it takes a whole bunch of indicators and says, oh, this person is sending emails that people like because they're opening, they're clicking, etc. And so content plays also, and your frequency plays a part in this because they reward consistency. So if you go quiet for a few weeks or months and then suddenly start sending, you could end up going to spam because they're like, oh, this is out of the ordinary behavior. So it is important that you have a strategic content plan that keeps you relatively consistent. If you miss a week or 2 weeks, that's not a huge deal. What is a deal if you keep doing it in bursts and spurts and it's just all over the place, or that the only things you send come out of nowhere, that they're sales emails. And I get the temptation here because we think, oh, we don't want to send too many emails, so we avoid it until we've got something really important to say, but that actually can have a negative impact on your reputation. And we also want to include plenty of opportunities that encourage the other engagement steps. So I talk about this driver open and click rate boosters, and obviously the next couple of episodes we're going to be diving deeper into opens and clicks, but they impact your sender reputation as well. So the more people open, the more people click, the better your reputation. Then we've got our couple of advanced drivers, automations and segmenting. Now you might not think these have a huge impact on deliverability, but again they do because they impact the sender reputation. So with automations, the first automated email someone could receive, that sets the tone. That sets the foundation for the entire reputation with that subscriber. So if they open and click that first email, the inbox providers learn that those emails are wanted. Also, it's about making sure people are only getting the most relevant emails and making sure that people are getting things at the right time. And these are the ones that will get the most engagement because they are based on behavior. But segmentation also impacts this too, and that means talking about like honoring subscriber preferences or sending only relevant emails to relevant people and not sending things to, offers to clients who have already purchased that thing. So that all reduces all those spam complaints and unsubscribes, and again makes everything more relevant, which increases opens and clicks. You see how everything ties together. So this is all a compounding effect. Automations deliver at the right time, segmentation delivers to the right people, and together they keep that sender reputation healthy. And that's what it all comes down to. Once you've passed those technical checks, it's sender reputation. The more engagement you get on your emails, the better reputation, the more likely your emails will be seen, which in turn improves your opens and clicks and your sales, and it becomes this cycle that builds and builds on each other. So in the next couple of episodes, we'll dive deeper into those next engagement steps. So your opens will be up next, and how we can improve them beyond just finding some great copy you can use. If you've been listening to this episode and you are quietly thinking, okay, I don't know if my emails are landing properly, or maybe you've gone in and done some tests and gone, oh, something's not right. That's exactly where driver 3 inside engaging emails starts. So that's where we dive into deliverability, all those technical factors, the 10 keys to deliverability, where I explain it in plain English. You don't need a technical degree. A lot of it is just a one-time job set up and it's done, and then it's just good habits, good practices, etc. And of course, deliverability is just one of the 7 drivers that cover. So there's a whole lot more that you will discover inside that program. The whole iceberg, not just that bit above the surface. So if you're interested, you can learn more at yalekeown.com/engage. Otherwise, I look forward to talking open rates with you next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you what you've enjoyed from this episode or what you want to know more about in future episodes. Let me know over on Instagram at yalekeown, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Easy Email Marketing. It's an absolute honour that you chose to listen. If you love this episode, then it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so that others can find this podcast and make their email marketing easy too. Finally, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. Until next time, have an awesome day and make sure to keep showing up and serving in those inboxes.